Hi guys, and welcome back to another VGC 2019 Sun Series Pokemon guide, and in today's guide we are going to be looking at Dusk Mane Necrozma. So we've already covered quite a few restricted Pokemon already. If you haven't checked out those guides already, do go back and check them out. We've covered things like Kyogre, Groudon, Xerneas, Yveltal and Mewtwo already, so we're moving on this week to the other restricted Pokemon that we haven't covered yet, and today kicking off with Dusk Mane Necrozma. I do really like Dusk Mane Necrozma. Personally, I haven't tried it out too much yet. I played around with it a little bit, very early format, but it's something that I do like, and it seems to be picking up a lot of popularity, so it's something that if you haven't played or know too much about already, it's something that you should probably be aware of, because I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon, and I think its popularity will probably just increase as the season goes on. Right, now moving on to the quick overview. We've got Dusk Mane Necrozma. It is a Psychic and Steel type. It is, remember, an amalgamation between Necrozma and Solgaleo, but it does keep Solgaleo's typing, so that the Psychic and Steel type. Its ability is Prism Armor. It takes, I think, quarter less or 3/4 less damage. It reduces the super effective damage from super effective attacks, basically. It has that base stat total of 680, which is kind of standard for your restricted Pokemon, with a distribution of 97 HP, 157 attack, 127 defense, 113 special attack, 109 special defense, and 77 speed. So the nice thing I'd say about this restricted Pokemon is its speed tier, because it's very slow compared to most of the other restricted Pokemon, meaning if you can get it in a Trick Room, which it has access to, which we'll cover a bit later, it's going to be very strong, and it can start doing a lot of work under that kind of speed control conditions. You can notice straight away as well that it's got a humongous attack stat of 157 and a really nice defensive stat as well with 127. Its defensive stats overall are really nice with that 97, 127 and 109 spread there. So it's going to be quite bulky. It's going to take a lot of attacks. You can evade very kind of like a lot of different ways, really, and that attack stat is nothing to scoff at either. You can see from its weaknesses, resists and immunities that it is weak to ground, ghost, fire and dark. It is immune to poison because of its steel typing, and it does have a lot of resist, which also makes it very nice with normal, flying, rock, steel, grass, psychic, ice, dragon, fairy. Wow, it's a big list, and it's a nice one, so it makes it even better, really, in my opinion. And it's damaged normally by fighting, bug, water and electric types. So just in general, a very strong Pokemon, and like, it's got a lot going for it. So this is probably one of the reasons a lot of players are falling back onto it, and its usage stats are rising and will continue to rise because of just the type immunities, resistance that it's got, and things it can hit for really good damage, because its coverage isn't bad either. So we'll move on to the sample sets next. First sample set I'm going to throw up is a popular one that we're seeing at the moment. It is the Psychic Seed variant. So we're seeing Dusk Mane Necrozma paired up with, we'll go through the partnering Pokemon in a little bit, but paired up with Tapu Lele to activate that Psychic Seed. Get rid of its item, which is one of the big things early on, because it is weak to knockoff. Knockoff is a thing in this format, it's a thing in most formats, but in this one more than others, because we've not got Z moves and we've not got Megas, so knockoff is way more reliable. It's going to be able to knock off nearly every item, isn't it, in this format? So for good reason, getting rid of your item, reducing the damage of that knockoff coming on to Necrozma, Dusk Mane Necrozma, is very, very useful. At the same time, you're boosting those special defensive stats as well, so you're going to be taking less damage on that side of the spectrum, and because it's already got a big defensive stat as well, you're kind of just making this thing into like a monster. Moveset is going to be standard, going to be Trick Room, Protect, Sunsteel Strike and Photon Geyser. So you've got the Steel and the Psychic stabs there to go off Dusk Mane Necrozma. Trick Room for speed control, because as we mentioned before, it is quite slow. It's going to be able to take advantage of that Trick Room setting, and most of the other restricted Pokemon, even if they go minimum speed, if if you got minimum speed with Dusk Mane Necrozma, you're going to be able to underspeed, and then with the psychic terrain as well, boosting the Photon Geyser's power, it's going to be hitting like a truck, and it's very devastating. It can punch holes through teams very easily, and it's not going to be the easiest thing to take down by any means because of its defenses and that psychic seed defense boost as well. You normally would go a brave nature or a negative speed nature to make the most of the trick room once you've got it up, to ensure that you do get the jump on a lot of other things under the trick room conditions. But all in all, this kind of just wraps up, and I'd say this is one of the sets that you probably see quite a lot, so it's one that you need to be aware of and just keep in mind for when you're playing against it. Next sample set we're going to look at is a weakness policy set. It is going to have the weakness policy, which if hit by a super effective attack, which pairs up very nicely with its ability as well, reducing the super effective attacks already. The weakness policy proccing, giving you a +2 attack and +2 special attack stat when activated. We went for a relaxed nature here. EV spread of 252 HP, 176 attack, 116 defense and 60 special defense. Again, standard move set. I think it's probably like you don't really need to stray too far away from this. We'll look at other options later on in this guide, but for the majority, I think the Protect, Trick Room, Sunsteel Strike and Photon Geyser are probably staples on this set. So that's why I would kind of like go along these lines. This is pretty much all you need on Dusk Mane Necrozma to operate really well. Remember, you've got 5 other partners to kind of cover the other slots, and you want to be doing as much as possible with Dusk Mane Necrozma once you get it set up and going. Just to give you an idea of what the EV spread does, it survives a Life Orb, Yveltal Foul Play. An Adamant Incineroar knockoff is a 3-hit KO minimum. Because you've got to include, like, the first hit is going to be a lot bigger than the next hit, so depending on if you've intimidated the Incineroar as well, it could be more, but minimum it will be a 3-hit KO with this investment. Adamant Groudon, 252 attack, Press Blades, 3-hit KO. That's not intimidate included, and it will also survive a full power water spout from a modest 252 Kyogre as well, so it's really bulky. It can take the hits, get the boost, get the trick room up, and then start throwing out some huge attacks in return. Very nice, very reactive set as well. So this one I do like. You can pair it up with things like Incineroar with Bulldoze and stuff like that to proc your own weakness policy. So there are lots of options to proc it yourself. And just making yourself slower at the same time is very nice as well. So like I say, lots of options there, but a very strong set nonetheless. Next sample set we're going to look at and people are running is the 50% berry super berry set. I've went for a Brave Nature here. 236 HP, 76 attack, 136 defense and 68 special defense. This allows you to again take a foul play most of the time from a Life Orb Yveltal. And it just gives you, with the berry, we went for the same moveset again. Like you say, I'm going to cover a few other options that you've got there, but you can interchange moves depending on your team and what support you might need. If you're not using one move so much, then you can look at other options, but like I say, we'll cover that later on. Again, you're going to be able to take the water spout from Kyogre. You'll be able to take attacks from Lunala. You're going to be able to take most attacks from everything with this spread. One thing you have to keep an eye out for though is a knockoff from Yveltal. So redirection support isn't a bad thing, but there's lots of stuff that you can use to pair with Dusk Mane Necrozma to protect against Yveltal. So it's not the worst thing in the world. And then excuse me, the last sample set that we will look at is a Life Orb variant. It is another common item that players are using at the minute. I went with the Brave Nature again because you've got the Trick Room option there. You can also go Adamant, which will just stick in here. So if you wanted to go just Adamant instead of just going Brave, you can do that as well. There's obviously Relaxed as well if you want, but you kind of want to go positive attack nature to make sure that you're getting the most out of that Life Orb as well. EV spread is just 252 HP, 252 attack and 4 special defense. Protect And then we've got options there. You've got Trick Room, you've got Earthquake, Knockoff, Sword Stance. It's got loads of other options it can have access to. It's got Rock Slide as well if you want to go down that route. But then the Sunseal Strike and the Photon Geist, like I say, the staples on this set really to take advantage of that attack stat. And it's got the defenses anyway, and with that ability to really be able to do a lot of work. And you don't really need to go too fancy with it, I don't feel anyway. But they're just some basic sample sets for you guys to have a look at, what you probably expect to see played at the moment, just to get you aware of, and stuff for you to go away and try out if you want as well. So, partnering Pokemon for Dusk Mane Necrozma. First one we're going to look at is Tapu Lele, because like the first sample set we looked at was the Psychic Seed set. You could also go down a Misty Seed set if you wanted, but I think you get way more benefits from the Psychic Terrain than you do Misty Terrain. Although Misty Terrain protects you from status conditions, the Psychic Terrain protects you from priority attacks, meaning that you cannot be faked out as long as it's active on the field, meaning that you get a seamlessly easy Trick Room turn setup. You also get the Seed boost as well, like we've mentioned, and it does boost that Photon Geyser attack from Necrozma, making it just ridiculously strong. And especially for the weakness policy sets, if you can get the Psychic Terrain up after the boosts, I mean, there's not a lot that you won't be KOing with the Photon Geyser if it doesn't either resist it or it's immune to it. So very, very strong partner. Scarf Tapu Lele is going to be an option for this set, just to make sure that you can try and get rid of some of the bigger threats to Dusk Mane Necrozma, namely Yveltal. Like Scarfed Moonblast will do a ton of damage, probably KO Yveltal, so that's a nice option there, and lots of other threats as well that Tapu Lele can deal with quite easily. It's obviously, like we just said, good defensive pressure with fairy typing against those dark types as well. Right, now moving on to the next partner example I'm going to throw up is Kyogre. We're seeing this combination quite a lot at the moment, and again, I don't feel like this is going to go away anytime soon. We've got Kyogre with that Drizzle ability, bringing the rain to the field for 5 turns. It is a water typing, so it does have nice defensive synergy with Necrozma, especially against those fire type attacks that are going to be so threatening to it. The rain that Kyogre can bring does protect Necrozma to a certain extent from those fire type attacks. It's a great counter to Groudon, and it is one of Dusk Mane Necrozma's biggest threats. You've got to admit that, even if you're not going to be, because of Groudon's such huge defenses, even if you're boosted, you're still not going to be picking up a KO against it, and you're going to be susceptible to Precipice Blade damage, which will be doing a lot. So Kyogre, really nice option there. You take away the sun and you can threaten it back as well. So both as well can work nicely under Trick Room, so Necrozma can set the Trick Room up, and Kyogre can be slow and bulky as well to work under Trick Room. So you've got a nice pairing there, and you've got nice options. On the other end of it, you've also got the option to run Choice Scarf Kyogre. I don't know if I'd advocate that too much, but it is an option, so you've got both ends of the spectrum, like we keep talking about through these guides. You want to kind of cover both ends of the spectrum wherever possible, and with the Choice Scarf variant you can do that quite seamlessly. Other partners that we're going to see, Smeagol. What? This isn't right. This isn't Smeagol. This is Incineroar. It's got the ability Intimidate, and it's got the typing Fire Dark type. It was Smeagol in disguise, transforming. I must have just missed that one when putting these slides together, guys, so apologies about that. But yes, next partner, very good partner for Dusk Mane Necrozma, is Incineroar. It not only has Intimidate support, it has that really nice Dark Fire typing to complement Dusk Mane Necrozma. It allows Necrozma to get the Trick Room up with the Fake Out support. The Intimidate support is going to just make sure that it is sticking around a lot longer against those threatening physical dark and ground type attacks, and it's also got really nice defensive synergy. It's a nice switch in if Dusk Mane Necrozma is in a really tight spot, and you can switch Incineroar in on those dark and ghost type attacks, and then it's going to threaten back as well. And also the fire typing, when these two are out in the field, there's a lot of things that do wall Necrozma if you go down the standard set route that will be susceptible to fire type attacks, which Incineroar covers really nicely as well. And Incineroar can operate really well under Trick Room, so all in all, very good partnership, and one that you're going to see quite a lot this season, I'd imagine. And then we've got not Smeagol, we've got Ludicolo as our last partner example for Dusk Mane Necrozma. For a lot of reasons, it's got the ability Swift Swim, typing is Grass and Water. Again, a bit like Incineroar, it's got that Intimidate Fake Out support to help set up the Trick Room if you want to set up whatever you need with Dusk Mane Necrozma. Just give yourself a little bit of room maybe to adjust board positions, etc. We all know what Fake Out does. It's excellent ability to protect against Kyogre and Groudon, I would say, because it's not really going to take too much damage from Groudon. It's got access to Grass Knot, which will be doing chunks of damage to it. And if you're pairing these two with Kyogre in your team, you've always got the option to switch in Kyogre, get the Rain, and just nuke Groudon or whatever other ground or fire type pretty easily with Ludicolo. It's got, again, nice defensive synergy like the Incineroar has, but this time on the ground and fire type attacks. It's not going to take too much damage from those, and then offers nice offensive options against those Pokemon as well, so really increasing the productivity with Dusk Mane Necrozma when you've got these two out in the field. So there's some of the examples of partnering Pokemon you can put with Dusk Mane Necrozma. They're things you're going to see with Dusk Mane Necrozma early on in the format, and things you need to be aware of, and like their roles and what they do to help Dusk Mane Necrozma perform. I'm not going to go through many more because there is an absolute ton. You compare lots of stuff with Dusk Mane Necrozma. I just want to pick out the best ones that I feel that are more relevant for you guys within this guide. So let's move on to the last slide, threats and counter tables. So obviously Dark types are going to be a big pain in the backside for Dusk Mane Necrozma. You've got Yveltal, it's going to outspeed it, it threatens the KO onto it pretty easily if you don't calc for the foul play damage, the knockoff damage. If you haven't got Intimidate support, with foul play can get around that anyway. But Yveltal is a big threat. Redirection is another thing that we didn't mention in the partners, but Amoonguss is a nice partner for Dusk Mane Necrozma. If you get the Trick Room up, Amoonguss can be really disruptive under that environment, and it also has the redirection pulling those dark type attacks as well that really do threaten Dusk Mane Necrozma quite heavily. You've got Tyranitar as another one. It's going to be slower than Dusk Mane Necrozma, so under Trick Room it will be hitting before it can do anything, and crunches, insurances and things like that will be doing a lot of damage. And you know, T-Tar is one of those bulky Pokemon that you can count to take probably the majority of all Sunsteel strikes, so it's going to be able to stick around on the field and chuck out at least a couple of crunches, so you're going to have to be aware of that and have ways around it. Alolan Persian, again, a bit like Yveltal, it's not as threatening, it hasn't got the Dark Aura boost with it, but it's still a Dark type, it still has access to foul play. It may be a Persian, Yveltal paired together, that double foul play is something that you just don't want to be going up against, and it does have access to Taunt as well to shut down the Trick Room option, stop your speed control, so it can be a bit annoying to play against. Parting Shot as well as a quick pivot onto you to drop those as stats. Remember, you're not like Solgaleo, you haven't got that full metal body ability to stop stat drop, and just Persian in general would be a big pain to deal with, so you need good checks for that. Namely, Scarf Tapu Lele deals with it pretty easily, doesn't it? And then we've got Incineroar hitting it from that dark side and the fire side, and Intimidate as well, which is not something that Dusk Mane Necrozma really wants to come up against at all, and Incineroar works so well against it. Ghost types as well are going to be very threatening. You got Lunala, again going to be outspeeding it, doing huge damage to it, and you're not going to be able to damage it back that well. It's going to be really bulky, and you're going to have to be careful when you're playing against that. Aegislash, it's going to be slower than you, so if you set the Trick Room up, you're kind of putting yourself in a little bit of an awkward position. Remember, it can substitute, it will resist all of the attacks that you're going to be thrown out at it if you haven't got access to like Knockoff or Earthquake, for instance, and it's going to easily deal with you with those shadow balls that are going to be hitting for really big damage. And then you've got Giratina as well. I've just chipped this one on the end because I think it's one of the restricted ones that does get forgotten about quite a lot, but it would cause Dusk Mane Necrozma a lot of issues. Again, it will resist the it doesn't resist any attacks, but it's bulky enough to take the attacks and then do a lot of damage back with those ghost stab attacks as well. And then we've got ground and fire types. You've got Groudon, which is obvious. The Volcarona can set up on Dusk Mane Necrozma, will outspeed it, and does offer big damage through things like Overheat, Heat Wave, Flamethrower. And it's not going to be taking too much damage from those steel type attacks, so you know, if you're throwing steel type attacks out at like something like Xerneas, and it's quite an easy switch in for your opponent, so you need to be aware of that. And then Landorus as well, another ground type that does threaten Dusk Mane Necrozma, does outspeed it, does have Intimidate as well, which kind of suppresses its attack stat, and can really do a lot of work against it with those earthquakes. Resists in walls, so Dusk Mane Necrozma, it can hit Ho-Oh for good damage with the Photon Geyser, but at the same time Ho-Oh's so bulky, and it's got access to Sacred Fire, which can burn Dusk Mane Necrozma, which is going to be very bad for you. If you get burnt, your productivity attack wise is going to be cut in half. And the recovery option through Ho-Oh has access to Roost, so just going to be able to roost off that damage and then slowly whittle you down, and it will win the one-on-one versus you most of the time. You've got Cresselia, it's going to wall pretty much, it's so bulky. It's going to resist the Photon Geyser attack, and it's not going to take too much damage, I wouldn't have thought, unboosted from the Sunsteel Strike, so it's going to be able to reverse the Trick Room if it needs to and just be pretty disruptive. Stack Attacker we've got down here, it is going to be slower in the Trick Room, it can set Trick Room up. It does take damage from the Sunsteel Strike, but it's got such high defenses anyway. It's going to be one of those Pokemon that is a bit annoying to deal with. It does resist the Psychic type attack, and it does do a lot of work against things like Tapu Lele and things that you commonly see paired with Dusk Mane Necrozma, especially Incineroar as well. It's going to be susceptible to Rock Slide damage and things like that, so I did put this in there. You've got ways to hit it with the Sunsteel Strike, but it's only doing neutral damage, and like I say, with the high defense stat that Stack Attacker has, it's not going to be taking too much damage. It's going to be very awkward to deal with. Celesteela is another one. It's going to resist both attacks from the Dusk Mane Necrozma, and can throw out Leech Seeds, just be an absolute pain. Remember, Celesteela does get Wide Guard as well, so it's got access to that to support against partnering Pokemon that might be there to deal with Celesteela and things like that, and just in general it's going to be very difficult, so you're going to need a good check for that. And then the last one I've tagged on is Dialga. So Dialga is it will resist the Psychic type attacks, you're not going to be hitting it for very hard damage, and it's going to be able to out damage you. Even though you underspeed it under Trick Room, it's got access to Flamethrower, it's got access to like Fire Blast if you want to go a bit more risky, and Earth Power as well, which can hit Dusk Mane Necrozma for really good damage. And like I say, Dialga is going to out damage you, and the one-on-one you just will not beat it without something like Earthquake to kind of combat against it. So something else that you need to be aware of as well when playing Dusk Mane Necrozma or going up against it. But that kind of wraps up this guide, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed the guide, as always, do remember to leave a like on the video. It does really help the channel out, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any other guides that we have coming up very soon. So we'll be back again very soon with another guide, guys. Until then, thank you so much for tuning into this one. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon. So until then, take care and bye bye.